Why does the right regularly get away with political violence? Check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Well, it's getting even weirder at the top of the New York Times today. Trump's taxes show he engineered a sudden windfall in 2016. More than $21 million in highly unusual payments from the Las Vegas hotel he owns with Phil Ruffin. The records show how the cash flowed in the chain of transactions to Trump-controlled companies and then directly to Trump himself. I think that, the media has certainly figured this out, and Donald Trump's even, I think some of his supporters are figuring out that this guy is a professional grifter. That's what he is. He's been a grifter his whole entire life. His dad was a grifter. His kids are grifters. It's, I referred to them as the Trump crime family. The Trump grift family is not it's not so much a thing, but I think crime family works. But anyway, so that it's anything goes Friday. So I'm just going to pick up your phone calls here, and we'll see where we go with it. Winston in Ormond Beach, Florida. Hey, Winston, what's on your mind today?
Yes, Professor. I've been listening to you for a long time. These neo-Nazis, how do they get away with this in America, being a Nazi after, killing Jews and killing Americans on the beaches in France and stuff like that, and these people walking with these tattoos on their neck, and the American public doesn't get excited at all about it. Don't even mention it. And I noticed when I was in high school, or in sixth grade, back in 1955, and this one woman, she was my teacher, and she was the one that started telling us a story about her brother. Her brother got killed during the Second World War on the beaches in France, and I could see her pain, her pain, and her, and what she was crying about, what she was feeling. And when you see these bodies like on the old films, and you see the bodies washing up on shore, and then now you got these Nazis running around bragging, and they got the Nazi insignias on their necks and claiming they're Nazis. And what's wrong with America? Why don't we, look what they did to the Jews and stuff. And why don't we get excited about it, about these people? Yeah. I've seen them in Tennessee, going through Tennessee and eastern Tennessee. You'll see signs and neo-Nazi signatures and stuff like that. It doesn't make sense to me, with all the stuff that we got going on. And yet these people are allowed to be that. And I think of all the mothers that just cried and cried losing their sons during that war. But is there anything we can do, Tom, about that to get things?
I think as the generation that fought the Nazis, the original anti-fascists. My father was one of them. He, right out of high school, he volunteered for the army to go fight Nazis, and fortunately, I suppose the war ended while he was in boot camp. So he ended up in Japan for 2 years with the occupation forces. But as did Louise's father. Same deal, actually. They were about the same age. And in fact, Louise's dad was in Japan for 2 years as well. But I think that generation is largely gone. My dad died in 2006. Louise's dad died, somewhat before that. And the people who remember our government used to produce, what you could call public, propaganda videos. They were public service announcements about Nazi ideology. You can find them on YouTube. They're not hard to find. Yeah. And then in the 1950s, we were producing propaganda videos about the horrors of communism, and because we were fighting the Cold War against the Stalin and then Khrushchev and all that kind of stuff. And it's been a long time since we have had the government itself say there is an external threat. And I think the largest piece of what's going on here, Winston, is that the Klan is still unacceptable in the United States in polite company, as it were. Yeah. Polite company is the wrong phrase. The Klan has become unacceptable over the last 20, 30, 40 years, even among white racists, even in so-called conservative communities. And so they're moving in other directions. And what they found is that being a Nazi is not as unacceptable. and being a white supremacist is even more acceptable than being a Nazi. And proclaiming that your domestic terrorism organization is actually a militia is even more acceptable than calling yourself white supremacists. But they're all they're all the same thing. And we need to acknowledge this and recognize that we have a problem with domestic terrorism being incited by essentially Nazis. I mean, CNN did a graphic the other day where that showed this was murders from 2007 till last year committed by domestic terrorists, and 74% were committed by right-wing extremists, 2% by left-wing extremists, and that's for what, a 13-year period. The FBI understands this. The FBI issued a report on this back in 2009 that was written during the Bush administration, but because it attacked the Nazis, the Republicans got all upset about it because they're on the same end of the spectrum, the hard right. And they actually used public opinion, essentially, to force President Obama to pull that report and just, bury it someplace. And so now we've got Christopher Wray is coming out and talking about this, and Donald Trump is all upset, and he's trashing the director of the FBI now because the director of the FBI is saying, the biggest threat we have in the United States right now, your biggest threat of getting killed by a terrorist in America is not a Muslim, it's not a lefty, it's not a protester or even a looter in Portland or something, although I don't think we've had any looting here, we've just had vandalism. It's right-wing militias. They literally have been killing people, and these numbers are from 2007. I would take it all the way back to the 90s with Tim McVeigh. I don't recall the exact year that happened, the Oklahoma City murder, but it started. It really picked up steam when Bill Clinton was elected in the early 90s, in 92, 3, 4, 5. And I think that a large part of that was the result of the NRA spreading absolute fear and hysteria in order to sell more guns. They have been very, very successful at making hundreds of billions of dollars in profits, or in revenue anyway, certainly billions of dollars in profits for the weapons industry, particularly now the assault weapons industry. And that propaganda that was being spread by the NRA to frighten people, to get them to buy guns, radicalized people politically and pushed them into things like these so-called militia groups that are just, white supremacist, neo-Nazi domestic terrorism groups. And God bless Gretchen Whitmer yesterday for saying these are not militias, these are domestic terrorists. And that's exactly what they are, because, she was targeted for that.